Hi everyone, my name is Neil Aryan, and in this video we're going to be talking about EC2 instances. This is the second video of a series that I will be doing to discuss various topics about the AWS exam and preparations for the CCP exam offered by AWS. Let's get into this video. So EC2 is just a compute engine that is provisioned by AWS, and it can be resized, which means you can choose how much work a specific instance does. The whole EC2 system that you have can be scaled up or down, which means you can add more instances or less instances, or change the number of instances of a certain type to match your requirements. It's also managed by the customer. Now, one thing that you should know for AWS is that not everything is managed by the customer or by AWS. They share different responsibilities and different goods are managed by different entities. EC2 has more power, gives more power to the customer than others, so it's not quite fully managed like some other services will be. Some examples of the responsibilities of customers would be patches, which would be any issues that go on within the EC2 instance, maybe in configuration, that's the customer's responsibility. Security of whatever's inside the instance. For example, if there's any data, you want to make sure that you set up your network ACLs and your subnets, which are things we'll discuss later. Basically, your firewalls surrounding the different data sets within your EC2 instance. You're going to want to make sure that these are well maintained and stay secure. Now, there's a wide variety of tools that you can use to ensure this. We're going to discuss those in later videos, but it's worth to mention that the security of anything inside the instance or security in the cloud is the customer's responsibility, where the security of the cloud, which would be physical security of data centers, is AWS's responsibility. Also, any guest operation systems, which could be any operation system that you import from a third-party service that is not owned by AWS. AWS is not responsible for that. You are responsible to figure out how that can be fixed or configured, etc. The network infrastructure describes how you set up the actual network within the EC2 instance. And this can be whether you provision a way for internet access or other people to use your application based on of different rules that you can set, which we'll also be discussing in later videos. And the availability, which means who can access this, how often can someone access this, how available is it to different people, depending on how accessible they are and how they can access your application. Now, there's got to be a competitive advantage for the EC2 instance. Otherwise, there'd be no point going out of your way to migrate all of your data to the cloud. Well, here's some of the competitive advantages. So on premise, you have to purchase hardware, which is pretty expensive. You have to maintain it, you have to purchase it, you have to keep track of all that. Versus using the EC2, everything is provisioned via the cloud. There's no real purchase of any physical hardware that's involved. Everything is digital. You don't have to worry about anything physical here. You also have to wait for servers to be delivered when you're dealing with on-premises. But using EC2, since as we discussed in the last video, we have on-demand delivery of goods and services, of IT resources, which could be EC2. So whenever you need an EC2 instance to be added or removed, you can get that done within minutes. Then you need to install the servers and you need to maintain the servers, but that's your responsibility. When you go use EC2, once again, since the servers are owned by AWS, it's their responsibility. You're only responsible for what the actual EC2 instance holds inside. Whatever is dealing with the EC2, whatever is holding the EC2 instance, that's the responsibility of AWS. You also have to make every single configuration, whether that be a physical configuration, a network configuration, a hypervisor configuration, versus using EC2, you only have to make the configurations that are relevant to you. You only have to change what you want. You don't have to deal with every single nook and cranny of your compute engine, only what you really need to deal with. Now, there's various different EC2 types, and each of them have their own respective strengths. And when you choose an instance type, it's important to understand what you need out of your instance type. And there's three main categories. There's one that are made for memory, there's some that are made for computation, and there's some that are made for storage purposes. So the first one we're going to look at is kind of a jack of all trades. It's the general purpose instance type. And this provides a balance of different resources in the fields of computation, memory, and storage. The applications for this could be small to medium-sized databases. It serves for applications and games, and it could be backend servers. Now we have compute optimized, and this is mainly used for high performance processing. Places that you can find this being used would be high performance web servers, such as a search engine on a website such as Google, Bing, or YouTube. You also have high performance application servers, which would be any server that has to deal with a lot of information being given to it and having to crunch all that data up. It's also used for gaming servers, since if you've ever played a game, you know there's a million things going on at once at different stages of the game, and you need a strong processor to be able to deal with all that information that's going into this application and coming out of your end. Then we have a memory optimized, and this is used to deliver fast performance to a big workload that can hold a large amount of data. It's essentially a CPU. And some of its more important and more relevant applications would be just a high performing database, something that you can send information to and pull out information at a moment's notice. Then you also have to deal with real-time processing of unstructured data, which would be in a gaming sense. Any kind of data, whether it be graphical data or information or numerical data, it could be all kinds of data. That has to be crunched up by this CPU, by this memory optimized instance. And it's really important to have a proper memory optimized instance to be able to deal with things like these. Then you have accelerated optimized instances. And these are pretty much just hardware accelerators or coprocessors that we use to compute quicker than possible on a software that runs on a CPU. So without this, your CPU wouldn't be able to run at the same rate. This basically allows you to accelerate the speed of your computations. And it's commonly used on not so complicated tasks, such as just number calculations, graphics processing, data pattern matching, and streaming. It's not quite as complex as the memory optimized or the compute optimized, but it does help speed things up. Finally, we have storage optimized. And these are designed for workloads that require read and write tools for large data sets on storage. And this could be, let's say, Google Docs or Google Word or any kind of editor which you share. This is really commonly seen in data warehousing applications, and there's a few kinds that AWS will have for you, but you can also run these on your EC2 instance. Also distributed file systems, and this could be via an email or just sharing a file with various different people, as you can do on many Google applications. And high frequency transaction systems, which I'm sure you all know of the great company Amazon, which deals with transactions at a very, very high frequency. Thank you for watching this video. In this video, we covered what an EC2 instance is. We covered the advantages that an EC2 instance has, and we covered the different EC2 instance types. In the second part of this video series, we're going to talk about the pricing of the EC2, the scaling of the EC2, and the load balancing of the EC2. Now, I'm going to try to keep this series under 2 videos, but if I find that there's more information that it's relevant for your exam, then I will stretch this out to 3. But for the time being, just keep tuned. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.